Morning, everybody. This is Miss Signs, and as you know, we are going over our lesson on the 50 states and their capitals in the United States of America. And one of the topics we're going to be covering is those regions and where those states go in the specific regions of the United States. So today, this is your lesson on the regions of the United States. So this is just a little overview of what we're going to cover. So the four regions that we know and that are classified by the US government are the West, the Midwest, the South, and the Northeast. So those are the regions and the states that we're going to cover today. So let's start with where we are. Where are we? Our state is called, you guys know this, California. So it is the furthest state, meaning all the way over in the West region, and it borders the Pacific Ocean right here on the left, and on the right, Nevada and Arizona. There are other states that border on top, but we're not going to discuss those right now because those are not important yet. So on the next slide, we're going to get into all those states in this Western region. The West. So first, let's go over the states that are exactly in the West. Let's go in alphabetical order. That way it makes sense for you guys. So if we have Alaska, Arizona, California, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. So as you guys know, Alaska and Hawaii are not connected on your map, but they are physically placed in the Western region. So for the purpose of this lesson and for your guys' map, we're going to include them in the West. Why are these states in the West, you may ask? So although the region definition of the West has changed over time, it has always been referred to, as land west or states west of a specific landform or the colonies. So when the original 13 colonies were founded, everything after that or to the west of that was just the West. So today, the regions in this state include those in the Rocky Mountain Range, which you guys will see on your maps, and to the left of that in the west. So this is your guys' map of all the states that we just covered. So you could see Hawaii and Alaska on the very bottom that are just included there, and then all of these states. And so the Rocky Mountain Range goes right about in Montana and Wyoming, right about there at the very border on the right of the western states. Let's move on. So this is the Midwest. The Midwest includes Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. So these are a lot of states, and they are in this big kind of literally Midwestern region. Why are these states in the Midwest? So these states are classified as the Midwest because one, they are both north and in the central part of the United States, meaning, they're kind of on top and they're sort of over to the west, but not really. And then also, they're in the middle of the United States. You have the West and then the other regions on the east, and then you have these states right in the middle. And so these technically lay midway between the Appalachian and the Rocky Mountains, and then right above the Ohio River. So this is your guys' map. You can see all the states that we just covered right over here. A lot of them border Canada, like North Dakota and Minnesota, and a lot of them just border other states. Let's move on to the South. So the South are the states basically right below this and right next to the West that we covered earlier. So there are a lot of states in the South because some of the definitions of the South can change depending on who you ask. So some sites that you guys may research may include states such as Delaware and the District of Columbia in the South region. But for the purpose of this, we are only going to include the District of Columbia in this because it is basically with Virginia. So we're going to include Delaware in a different one. So let's go over the states that are in this southern region. So we have Alabama, Arkansas, District of Columbia, also DC, the capital, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, and West Virginia. So those are a lot of states. This is probably one of our biggest regions. So these states classified as the South or the Southeast, kind of, in that major area down below over on the right, unofficially are south of many major landforms such as the Ohio River. So we talked about the Ohio River in the Midwest region with all those states being above it. These are the ones right below it. Many of these states border Mexico and bodies of water, such as the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean over on the right. So this is your guys' map. You guys can ignore Kansas and Missouri. That's just the way the map is. You can see, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. They all border the Gulf of Mexico. And then you have the states over on the right, such as the Carolinas and Georgia, and also Florida and Virginia that borders the Atlantic Ocean. Let's move into our last region. So this region is the Northeast. So, like I said earlier, a lot of people may not classify, Delaware as a state in the Northeast, but for the purposes of this lesson, we are going to include it. So let's go over the states in the Northeast. So we have Connecticut, Delaware, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Vermont. So these are a lot of our really, really small states that are kind of tucked in together, and they might be harder to see on a map, but they are there. So let's talk about why these states are in the Northeast. A lot of these states made up the original 13 colonies. And they're located, kind of as it says, on the northeastern part of the United States. So, Maine is the very, very top of our map over on the right. And then you have all these states such as New York and New Jersey right over there in that area as well. Many of these states are also right below the Canada-United States border that you're going to see on your map next. So here's the map that I was just telling you about. This is the border right up here above, Vermont and everything. And here's Pennsylvania, New York. They are separated by a little bit of water, but you get the idea. And then there's Maine up there, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and everything else. All right, my friends, I hope that this has helped, and I look forward to seeing you guys in class.